All right, good evening, everybody. It is Friday, February 3rd here in 2023. We are so happy that you can join us today at 8 p.m. We're going to bring you the top 5 stories here, not just in the Atlanta metro area, but all throughout the country. The things that you need to know before you get your weekend started or before you go to bed tonight. I'm Savannah Louie, and we're going to start here with a story that is developing that you've probably seen if you open up your social media or even if you turn on the TV, any station. It is all about that giant spy balloon from China. I'm going to show you a picture of it right here in case you haven't seen it so far. Now, you got to take a real close look at this. You can see it very faintly in the distance here. It's a white dot right in the middle of your screen. But the latest news with this is that we're learning the Pentagon said today another spy balloon is currently going over Latin America. The press secretary tells us we are seeing reports of a balloon transiting Latin America. We now assess it is another Chinese surveillance balloon. Now, it's unclear where exactly that balloon is over Latin America, but a U.S. official tells CNN it does not appear to be going towards the U.S. Now, in case you aren't up to date on the latest with this whole situation here, officials have called this a spy balloon. They've taken a close look at what it's been doing. This thing was first spotted, the first balloon was spotted in Montana. That's also home to a nuclear missile site. Now, the balloon continues to move east. Chinese officials have addressed this. They say that it's been used for weather research and the wind caused it to blow off course, but the U.S. officials, they don't buy it. Officials say they are not going to try to shoot this balloon down just in case debris falls. It could hurt civilians. But we also know that U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken was supposed to visit Beijing this weekend for a high-level meeting. That meeting has since been postponed. Federal officials now say that balloon is expected to be over the U.S. for several more days. Again, this is a top trending story. We've seen it develop all throughout the course of this week, and we're going to continue to bring you all the latest updates when it comes to that balloon and what it might be being used for and what we expect to happen next. Now I want to get to another big story here. This one takes place in Cherokee County. It's a real concerning story, especially when you think about your kids and what they're up to on social media. But we know that, that's a wrong lower third here. This is a story, again, that has to do with social media and racist posts allegedly on social. So the first week of Black History Month, 2 students were disciplined and accused of making racist posts on social media. We're told these comments were made Wednesday involving students at Sequoia High School. A parent showed Atlanta News First the post. A white teenager wrote he doesn't apologize for how his ancestors treated Black people, and then proceeded to question why Black History Month is even necessary. Now, all of this comes a year after a different, separate incident involving racist behavior in which a Black female lacrosse player in this very same district said students were yelling the N-word and other racial slurs at them during a playoff lacrosse game back in April. The school or the district superintendent, Dr. Brian Hightower, didn't agree to an interview with us, but he did send an email addressing this incident. He says, quote, "We do not tolerate racist or otherwise derogatory language in our schools, and our code of conduct and response to such incidents makes that clear." Now, again, we know that those students have been disciplined, those 2 students involved, but we don't know to the extent of that discipline. If we do learn more about this and how it's being handled, we'll continue to bring you those latest updates, of course. All right, third story for this evening. This is pretty hopeful news, I think, especially when you think about the opioid epidemic here. We have seen issue over the past years. I mean, it's been dozens of years where we've seen opioid deaths go up. From 2019 to 2021, fentanyl-involved overdose deaths in Georgia increased by 232%, according to the Georgia Health Department. Now, there's news of a fentanyl vaccine. A research team led by the University of Houston has developed a vaccine targeting fentanyl. It blocks fentanyl's ability to produce a high, and it blocks it from entering your brain. If you get this vaccine, you will develop antibodies against fentanyl. Researchers say this would really be useful to help people who are fighting relapses, who are trying to get off the drug, but are having a really tough time being able to do so. Researchers plan to start manufacturing this vaccine in the coming months, and human clinical trials are planned soon. Right now, we don't know exactly the date of when those trials would occur, but I think overall, I mean, especially if you've kept up with this news cycle over the past several years, you've heard time and time again how opioid deaths are going up and up and up. It is so disheartening. I can tell you right now, it's so disheartening to read about. I can imagine how tough it is for many of you to just listen to time and time again. So this is really good, hopeful news that is very welcome, and we're looking forward to seeing how it progresses. All right, my fourth story for tonight. Another story taking us right back here to the metro Atlanta area with one of the biggest tech giants in America. And unfortunately, this story is going to be a big disappointment to many of you out there. We're talking about Microsoft, of course. Microsoft, with several campuses planned for the metro Atlanta area, has now pressed pause on one of them. This was supposed to be a major project in Atlanta's Grove Park neighborhood. This project, according to Microsoft, has now been suspended temporarily, at least, but we know that it is a huge blow to thousands of employees, community members too. It was 90-acre proposed campus. Mayor Andre Dickens was caught off guard by this. He says, quote, "They caught us a little by surprise. Now they have to figure out what their workplace strategy, how large to build the facility here." Now, if you remember, Microsoft cut 10,000 workers last month. That's 5% of their workforce, a lot of people. So if you think about it, it kind of makes sense to where they're trying to cut costs and just reevaluate their business plan. Microsoft did address this news. They say, quote, "The land is not for sale, and we still aim to set aside a quarter of the 90 acres for community needs. We intend to re-engage in planning efforts when expansion is warranted." But they didn't go into any more further details for that. I know a lot of folks who are in that Grove Park neighborhood. This comes as a big disappointment. I think a lot of people were really optimistic about what this campus could do for the community. And just to know that it's put on pause now, it leaves this big question mark and people wondering, okay, what's going to happen with this area? What are we going to see or not see? And how long is it going to take? Those are obviously questions that not only we have here at Atlanta News First, but I think that local leaders have as well, along with the community. So we're going to continue to keep tabs on that as well. But again, it could be weeks, even months before we get those straight answers here. All right, now last story of the evening. Y'all know it's Friday. We got to leave you on a good, positive note here, and I am so excited about this. I think people out there, you either love
the countdown is on for music's biggest night after a year with no audience and one in Las Vegas.
Yeah, because we want to hear my voice, not theirs. All right, anyways, we're talking about the Grammys, though. This is exciting. It's the 65th annual Grammys on Sunday. Big names going to be taking the stage. You can see Trevor Noah there. He's going to be hosting. But Beyonce, Queen Bee, will be leading the nominations with 9 nominations. She's looking to make Grammy history. She needs 4 nominations to beat the record for overall Grammy wins. You'll also hear Lizzo, Bad Bunny, and Harry Styles performing. And there will also be a special segment remembering music icons that we've lost this year. That includes Christine McVie from Fleetwood Mac and Takeoff, from Atlanta, rapper Takeoff. This year's show will also have a special tribute honoring the 50th anniversary of hip hop. So again, I know that is something that I am personally looking forward to. I always love seeing those nominations and rooting on my people. This year, my girl, Beyonce, I think we're all rooting for her to see her make history. Of course, that's going to be on Sunday evening. So I got my plans ready. And honestly, if the weather is anything like it was today, might be kind of a nice night to sit inside and just stay warm, bundle up on the couch. It's really starting to feel a lot like winter. We're showing you the Metro Atlanta skyline right here. Beautiful night, although you will need a jacket, maybe even 2. We have meteorologist Cutter Martin joining us now with a look at the forecast here in Metro Atlanta.
And it's absolutely gorgeous outside. Yeah, it's on the sky out there this evening. Hopefully you're able to hear me now. Getting taken over. First Alert meteorologist Cutter Martin, thank you for joining us, for tuning in to Atlanta News First Plus. We're going to give you a check at the forecast now. Of course, your news headlines, following it up with the forecast. And a reminder, we are checking in on the comment feed here, both Atlanta News First on Facebook. We're watching the feed, commenting in. Hello to you, Michelle and Alita and Chris. Thank you all for for watching. Appreciate the viewership. Again, if you have any weather questions, comments, concerns, you can give us a holler. And if you have any questions for Savannah, of course, she's just an earshot away. We'll holler at her and bring her back over. Let's dive into the forecast now, beginning with current temperatures. So before we get to the hour by hour, let's talk about what is currently happening out there, and that is it's cold. Temperatures are continuing to trend colder. 41 in Atlanta. That's at the airport. So Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport already down to 50, or 41 rather. Already down to freezing up in the mountains. Blairsville at 32, 36 Canton, Gainesville 39, Rome 39, 37 Carrollton, lower 40s, LaGrange, Locust Grove, Covington tied with Atlanta at 41, and Athens is at 43. So it's a chilly evening, and by the time we wake up tomorrow morning, we're talking a widespread freezing conditions across not just the city of Atlanta, but of course even colder further to the north. We're talking about temperatures in the upper teens and the lower 20s. Out the door tomorrow morning up the mountains, Helen, Ivy Log, Ellijay, looking at you. And further to the south across the city of Atlanta, I think we wake up to temperatures in the upper 20s and lower 30s. In fact, here is a look at temperatures. We'll start with the metro first. It's going to be cold regardless of what the actual number is in your neighborhood, so do keep that in mind. Yes, it's going to be cold everywhere, but I think coldest outside of the perimeter. 25 in Canton, 22 Blairsville, 27 Athens, mid-20s in Carrollton, and in LaGrange at 25, Griffin, Covington in the upper 20s. Zooming down into Metro Atlanta, let's get the graphic going here. Metro Atlanta temperatures back in the mid to upper 20s outside of I-285, but inside the perimeter maybe 29, 30, kind of the rule tomorrow morning before 8 o'clock. 26 though, McDonough. Look at Douglasville, the west side, 26. Kennesaw's at 25, Roswell 26. So Alpharetta, North Fulton, you get north of Georgia 400 and maybe I-285. It is going to be cold. Temperatures back in the mid to upper 20s. And if we can get winds to calm down enough tonight, the air is very dry, but I do think if winds can calm down enough, we could have a little bit of frost tomorrow morning. Regardless, certainly cold enough for it with temperatures out the door in the morning, back into the mid to upper 20s, some right around 30 degrees. But still a gorgeous day tomorrow. We'll wake up to nearly full sunshine and some clouds moving in mid to late morning. These are high-level clouds, no rain, but some clouds around tomorrow, and then may become a little bit more overcast in the afternoon, but no worries of rain falling from these clouds. With your playground forecast here, trying to get the kiddos outside. There's so much cabin fever pent up through the week with so many gloomy, rainy days, and finally some sunshine back in the forecast. So get outside, burn off that energy. I know there's probably a lot of 4, 5, 6+ year-olds out there that are just begging to go outside. And tomorrow's going to be a nice day. Cold in the morning, we're all the layers, but by the time we get into the afternoon, let's break this down community by community for you. We're back in the lower 50s, so not too bad. As cold as it will begin tomorrow morning, it's actually going to be a pretty decent afternoon. And Smyrna, 52, East Point 50, City of South Fulton 53, Douglasville and Estelle, temperatures back in the lower 50s, Sandy Springs at 52, I think the City of Atlanta, depending on what side of town you're on, 50 to 53, so lower 50s the rule tomorrow, beginning with a lot of sunshine, and then as we get into the afternoon, I do think that we'll have a little bit more in the way of cloud cover move in. It's not going to be, a gloomy day, but we'll call it a filtered sunshine. Those high-level clouds, they move in, they thicken up a bit, but that sun's still able to poke down through them. They're just thin enough to get some of that sunlight through. But I do think as we get into the afternoon, a little bit grayer, so just keep that in mind. Sunniest in the morning, still though a gorgeous day with temperatures in Gwinnett and DeKalb counties, the east side, back into the lower 50s tomorrow afternoon as well. Though Beaufort, Gainesville getting up in Hall County, struggling to get to 50, a little harder to get to the big 50-degree mark tomorrow afternoon. Some spots will remain in the upper 40s, but the city of Atlanta, I think a lot of folks, 50 to 54 tomorrow afternoon, especially the southwest side. For example, here we are midnight, or noon tomorrow rather, and Griffin, LaGrange, Covington still sunny, but those clouds moving into North Georgia, the mountains first. They're spreading in from the north and west to the south and east. Here we are 4 p.m., a lot of wispy high clouds out there with temperatures low to mid 40s in the mountains. Clayton at 43 tomorrow afternoon, about 4 p.m. or so. Blairsville, Canton, Gainesville in the upper 40s. Athens, Covington in the upper 40s, but Dalton, Rome, Carrollton, Atlanta, Griffin, LaGrange, and Cleburne-Randolph counties in Alabama generally in the lower 50s. And then tomorrow evening, we're going to keep some of the clouds. I think Sunday morning, not quite as cold as Saturday morning, but still going to be on the chilly side. For example, Here we are, 7 a.m. Sunday morning. Temperatures just above freezing in Atlanta, but 32 Carrollton, 32 Canton, 31 in Blairsville, 32 in Clayton, Rome at 33. So close to freezing, if not quite there. As we get into our Sunday, the clouds stick around, but still dry. In fact, here's your rainfall forecast for the next 7 days. Granted, this is just one run of one forecast model, but kind of telling the story. We're really looking at a Thursday greatest chance of rain, but there is some timing uncertainty there. Wednesday, Thursday, or perhaps Thursday night into the wee hours of Friday morning. There is uncertainty with when this next band of rain and maybe some storms, depending on how the setup evolves. Moves through North Georgia. Right now we're first alerting Thursday, but just want to have you aware of the fact that that timing could shift around just a little bit as we get into the middle of next week. Between now and then, though, it's nice. Here is that 7-day forecast in case you missed it on Atlanta News First at 7 p.m. Frigid tomorrow morning at 30, but we're rebounding back into the upper 40s and lower 50s Saturday afternoon, mid to upper 50s Sunday afternoon. So you'll notice a difference after a chilly start Sunday, a little bit warmer Sunday afternoon, much milder, mid-60s. Some spots in the upper 60s possibly. Monday afternoon, Tuesday mid to upper 60s again. Mild Wednesday, we're going for 69 in Atlanta. Some of the data, I will say, some of the data is indicating that the city of Atlanta could see its warmest temperature. And, last week we managed this for a couple of days, but other than that, it's been a while since we've had temperatures in the 70s, and it is looking like we're shooting for 70 degrees as we get into the middle of next week, going for 69 next Wednesday. We'll bring back up that 7-day forecast. Some models possibly, having us in the lower 70s. It is a possibility. We'll be refining that forecast. But also Wednesday, along with the warmer weather, more clouds, and we'll start to introduce that chance of rain back into the forecast. First alert, a greater chance of rain, I think, Wednesday night into Thursday. And then we're trying to dry it out, it looks like Friday, and on into next weekend, Saturday, Sunday. The weekend at least begins drier, begins sunnier. But it is possible by next Sunday we could have more cold air moving in to North Georgia. So if you like the warmth, if you like the mild condition and the sunshine, may not have as much sun Wednesday, but we will have milder temperatures, upper 60s and some lower 70s. So get outside and enjoy it. Time now is 8:18. A reminder, you're never that far away from the next check of the First Alert forecast. Latest news headlines as well on Atlanta News First at 9 p.m. The latest coming up. First Alert meteorologist Fred Campagna will have your forecast on TV, and we did send out a push alert to the First Alert weather app detailing the cold tonight, the nice weather tomorrow, and that First Alert to rain Thursday. That's all in your smartphone. First Alert weather app right now. It's a simple, easy, and it's a free download to search First Alert weather in your app or Google Play Store, so you're never away from the First Alert forecast. But Fred Campagna will walk you through the latest here coming up in about 40 minutes or so on Atlanta News First. I'll have the 10 o'clock hour, and he's back at 11 as some of that new evening data comes in with the latest First Alert forecast. And, of course, the whole team is working in the newsroom. We'll bring you the latest headlines as well. We'll leave you with a live kind of bustling look of Midtown Atlanta. We're looking southeast from the Atlantic building, back across the connector towards beautiful Midtown Atlanta. Enjoy the evening. Bundle up if you have plans. It's cold, and it's getting colder tonight. Next check of the First Alert forecast starts in about 40 minutes.